Join us as we unravel the truth behind the hype, the breakthroughs, and the future of artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence. Is it the revolution that will reshape humanity, or just the biggest hype bubble of our time?
From healthcare breakthroughs to business transformations, the promise is staggering. But what happens when this promise meets reality? When the smartest AI feels more like a letdown than a breakthrough? But behind the excitement lies doubt, frustration, and a race for control. So what's the truth? Imagine a world where an all-knowing expert lives in your pocket, ready to solve any problem at any time.
Now, humanity faces its most urgent question.
All right, let's dive into one of the biggest topics on the planet right now, artificial intelligence. Is it really the world-changing revolution we've been promised, or is it just the biggest hype bubble we've seen in a long time? Today, we're going to try to separate the real breakthroughs from the marketing spin and figure out what's actually going on.
Okay, so let's start with the promise, because you have to admit, it's pretty incredible. This quote just captures it perfectly. The vision, right, is this all-knowing expert that lives in your pocket, a thinking partner, ready to help you tackle literally any problem. It's a hugely powerful idea, and it has absolutely taken the world by storm.
But then, reality hits. An analysis of thousands of online discussions after a major AI launch found the complete opposite. Users weren't just disappointed, they felt the new model was a downgrade. And the way the company handled the rollout actually damaged their trust. I mean, that is a huge disconnect, isn't it?
And this really brings us to the core question we're tackling today. You've got these two wildly different stories happening at the exact same time. So what is really going on here? Let's unpack it.
So first up, let's really explore that promise. Because to understand the hype, you have to appreciate just how unbelievably powerful these tools can be. The breakthroughs driving all this excitement? They are undeniably real. When you look at the business world, AI is already making a huge splash. And it's not just about automating simple things like customer service chats. It's becoming a real strategic partner, digging through massive amounts of data to spot trends a human could never see, and even helping to predict cyber attacks before they happen.
And listen, this isn't just some abstract theory. It's hitting the bottom line, big time. Just take a look at Amazon. They reported that their AI coding assistant is creating $260 million in savings every single year. That is a staggering jump in productivity. But the place where the impact might be the most profound is in healthcare. We're talking about AI models that can analyze medical scans with an accuracy that matches, or in some cases, even beats top human doctors. And it goes beyond just diagnosis. AI is speeding up the search for new cures, which can make revolutionary treatments way cheaper and available to everyone.
So yeah, the promise is enormous. But as we kind of hinted at earlier, the day-to-day experience for a lot of users tells a very, very different story. It's time for a little reality check.
And this is the crucial point, right? We hear about all these amazing things AI can do, but when we try to use these tools for our own work or just for simple daily tasks, the results can be, well, let's be honest, pretty frustrating. And this isn't just a few people complaining on a forum. When a major new AI model launched recently, the reaction was so negative that people online started calling it Gary Marcus Day. That's in honor of a famous AI critic who's been warning about the flaws in this tech for years. When that happens, there's a serious gap between the marketing and the reality.
I think this comment from a user online just perfectly sums up the experience for so many of us. An AI can sound so confident, so intelligent, but the second it starts talking about a subject you know really well, you start to see all the little mistakes, the weird misunderstandings, the so-called hallucinations.
So why does this happen? Well, believe it or not, research shows these AIs have cognitive biases, a lot like humans do. Take confirmation bias. You give it a sequence like 6, 8, 10. The AI immediately jumps to the conclusion that the rule is consecutive even numbers. So then it only gives you examples like 2, 4, 6. It never thinks to test another idea, and so it completely misses the real, much simpler rule, any increasing sequence. It just gets stuck on its first guess.
And the failures go even deeper. And they all point to this one core problem. These models don't really have a basic understanding of the world. They get tripped up by simple physics, they struggle with basic math, and they fail tests of abstract reasoning. And maybe most importantly, they soak up and even amplify the harmful social biases that are all over their training data.
Okay, so we've got this massive, world-changing hype on one side and this often frustrating, flawed reality on the other. How do we make sense of this contradiction? Well, luckily, there's a classic framework that helps explain exactly what's going on. This is the Gartner hype cycle, and it basically maps out the life journey of any new technology. And if you look right there, at the very top, the absolute highest point of excitement and totally unrealistic promises, that's where you'll find generative AI. Today, we are quite literally at the peak of inflated expectations.
You see, pretty much every major technology goes through these stages. First, there's a big breakthrough. Then comes the frenzy of hype, where everyone thinks it's going to change the world tomorrow. Inevitably, that leads to a crash, the trough of disillusionment, when it doesn't deliver on those crazy promises. But after that, people start figuring out what it's actually good for. And eventually, the technology finds its real place and becomes truly useful. AI is just following that same classic pattern.
So if we're ever going to get past that peak of hype and start climbing towards real productivity, we have to get really honest about what's holding these models back. What are their fundamental limits right now?
At the heart of it all, the biggest limitation is a lack of genuine, common-sense understanding. You can think of today's large language models, the LLMs, as kind of like brilliant statistical parrots. They are absolute masters at recognizing patterns in language and predicting what word should come next, but they don't actually understand what any of those words mean in the real world.
This really comes down to two different philosophies in the world of AI. The models we have today are connectionist. Think of them like a student who has memorized millions and millions of flashcards. They are amazing at spotting patterns, but they're missing the other half of the equation, symbolic AI, which is like a student who actually understands the underlying rules of physics. Our current AI has incredible memory, but not much in the way of reasoning.
Because of this, a lot of researchers think the real path forward is a hybrid approach. The idea is to combine the creative, pattern-matching genius of deep learning with the strict, logical framework of symbolic AI. That could be the key to building models that don't just mimic intelligence, but can actually reason their way through a problem.
So, where is all of this headed? Let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture for a minute, because the path we choose from here is going to have some massive consequences for all of us.
When you look at foresight analysis, a few critical trends keep popping up. First, AI is already being used to design the next generation of AI, which could kick off a cycle of runaway progress. Even with all its flaws, this technology is going to transform society. And that brings up two giant challenges. How do we make sure these incredibly powerful systems stay safely under our control? And how do we stop all this power from ending up in the hands of just a tiny handful of companies? And what makes all of this so incredibly urgent is the speed. I mean, look at this. For electricity to reach mass adoption, it took almost 50 years. The internet took 7 years. ChatGPT reached 100 million users in just 2 months. We are going through a societal shift at a speed that humanity has never, ever experienced before.
So this leaves us with the ultimate question. We're building a technology that could spark a new cognitive revolution, boosting human intelligence and helping us solve some of our biggest problems. But it also comes with these profound risks of misuse, of concentrated power, and maybe even a loss of control. The path we choose from here is going to define our future.